if I were starting this year to implement more inquiry-based learning in my science classrooms from scratch, never had done it before, but intended to with consistency, I would definitely start rethinking my course syllabus. Because in an inquiry-based classroom, and this took me like 5 or 6 years to sort out, to think through, to get it. In an inquiry-based classroom, that syllabus is not just a course document.
Huh?
Or it can be more than that. It can be the first expression of the classroom culture you intend to transform, because teaching with inquiry is a whole nother different beast than just lecture and notes every day. Before your students ever complete a single assignment, before the parents come to back to school night to talk about what your class is going to be like, before administrators start doing their walkthroughs and observations, anyone who has seen your syllabus has a pretty clear idea of what learning is going to look like in your classroom. If you're new here, I'm Lisa, and this is Lab in Every Lesson, where the pillars of secondary science teaching include inquiry, action, and technology. In this video, we'll focus on how we could use the course syllabus to introduce the idea of inquiry to our students and their families and set the stage for a different kind of classroom culture. Okay, where I want to begin with this video is to show you the syllabus I worked with for probably 3 to 5 years, which was what I thought a more fun, engaging version than maybe what is typical. And then after I show you that, we're going to take a quick foray into Canva, where we'll look at some ready-made templates, which is probably where you would go nowadays if you wanted to make your syllabus more engaging or more pretty or whatever, but also didn't quite know maybe if you want to reinvent it, what are some options? What are some ideas? And then we're going to look at my syllabus and how I did take one of the templates in Canva and some of the cues from Canva, honestly, to go more student-centered, more inquiry-based. So what we're looking at right here is actually an infographic type tool that I created in a program called PictoChart. So again, I only did this so it was always on my website. It couldn't be printed. That was a drawback of it. But I'm a cyber school teacher, so it didn't need to be printed. Again, I applied a template style design to it. Welcome to our learning laboratory. This is chemistry, and I'm Mrs. Croesus. And I start out with, this is about me. Here's who I am, and about me. Eek. Put a pin in that. I did try to make it interactive to say, ask me why this. Ask me what I thought of that. Ask me why I love my hobbies or where I live. So I built in kind of like conversation pieces, because in cyber, engagement is very, very, very hard to get. And you want to, as much as possible, establish, that two-way communication, but no different than you probably want to. After the about me comes about the course. Now, I really can't skip this. I want to say to you, this is a syllabus. And the promise in this video is to make it a classroom culture document, a classroom culture experience. While we're not talking about the experience we're going to get from it today, we're talking about just like what's in it, what it looks like, student reaction almost to it. There is an activity that will come later, so stay tuned. Keep watching, I promise. It'll be a little something different because yes, I recorded it yesterday, but the last video you would have seen here on my channel talked all about how science is doing. Science is a verb. And so if we can wrap our head around every single day, do science, no matter the topic, even if we're doing the syllabus day, if the students can do the thing, then we're better off than we were before. We're going inquiry. We're going constructivist. Students are building their own knowledge. So what I don't want to do is prepare a syllabus that I got to read to everybody. And so we begin to see about me, read, course description, read, graded assignments, read. And yeah, we got the subheadings: homework, weekly practice, learning experiences, unit test. that's probably all the students are reading, especially on that first day. If every teacher in class is doing a first day syllabus day, like the kiddos are just enough already with the reading. Syllabus, all the same kind of thing. And you work in the same school, so many of you have similar policies. So here we have grading policy and dishonesty policy, and explore the course. The end. Okay, so it's engaging because it looks pixely and it's sciencey and okay, great. Let's go to Canva. And I'm just going to demonstrate. I'm sure you've done this before, but I'm just going to go syllabus. We're going to search in the templates. And I just want to point out something about this. If you had been planning to do this or you thought about doing this, I don't know how you look through your templates. If you're looking for it to just look engaging, what we just saw was that just looking the part doesn't actually make it engaging. Okay, so first thing that I noticed when I searched up templates for syllabus in Canva is that very few are just super basic 8x10 papers that can be printed, emailed, PDF'd, whatever. After these first two roles, you get presentations. Okay, inquiry-based says don't read students' stuff. I did pull one of these just from an example because I think there's things we can learn from it, but most of what I talk about here is going to be focused on like the basic page style, like old-fashioned. I'm a little old-fashioned, even though I'm progressive in my teaching. I'm a little old-fashioned in every other way. Again, in idea-based though, look at this syllabus scavenger hunt. Probably a super common thing to do with the syllabus. So at least we're leaning toward, hey, we can get some ideas here. The ones that I have pulled to take a peek at include this one. Okay, so science syllabus with Mrs. Smith. I just want to draw parallels to the one that I had created a couple years ago, 2021, that I thought was engaging. Okay, looks a lot like this one. This one's a little bit more formal. That one was a little bit more fun. It still says, hi, this is what the course is about. This is what you need. This is what you'll do. This is how I'm going to grade you. And at the bottom of the page, kudos to the designers at Canva. They throw in a little bit of, I don't know, looks like encouragement, looks like motivation, looks like inspiration. Maybe it's school-wide PBIS. Be all of these things, you know, and I'm betting that's probably what it is because there's 4 and a lot of schools have 4. So put a pin in that. Then we get rules. A whole page of rules. And then third page, another whole page almost of rules besides class materials is rules. This is how you do life with me. And that has its place, I think. Absolutely. We need rules. I'm not suggesting no rules, but let's display the rules. Let's spend a day practicing the rules. Let's come up with the rules together, you know, as a class. I know that could sound a little off-putting to some of you, but yeah, that's what student-centered is. It's make it about students. Give them more agency, more choice. Let them exert their positive characteristics of things like, what do we have here? Not listed, but responsibility. That's one of our PBIS goals. So inquiry-based syllabus rule number 1, put the rules somewhere else. If we're going to treat our syllabus as a classroom culture document, as something that students are going to go, oh, this class is going to be different, get the rules out. Rules, you know, turns them off immediately. And also so does this wall of words. You might have a word wall, especially in science, we call it, you know, it's vocabulary. This is a word wall. And you hit it and you're like, oh, I have to read another one of these. Imagine if you're in period 7, reading your 7th syllabus of the day. Yuck. Shifting gears now to a presentation style one. Very pretty. Also meant to be delivered as a lesson. Starts out again. Look at me. Look at me, I'm the teacher. Everything revolves around me, the teacher. Very not inquiry-based. Very not student-centered. All teacher-centered. Come to class. I'm going to tell you all the things. And as we click through here, look, I'm going to tell you all the things, what the course is about in a whole page. All the things you're going to do in categories. This is very nice to communicate, but kind of a word wall. And also, teacher's the expert there. Why it matters. That's nice and perfect. Blocky, small, bite size, important. Units of study, also nice to have, super important. I don't know. Students are mostly going to try to get right to what are you going to make me do and how are you going to score me. So this is nice and clean and short and sweet. Again, all kinds of the stuff you would expect to see. At the end, we have expectations. So, these are the things. This is our classroom culture piece, and it's one page in 17 pages, one page. Kind of same as we had these 4 bullet points buried at the bottom. Lost in all of that every other teacher has this information. Policies. And this one isn't too heavy on policies. This is a nice addition I really love. Didn't include in my own syllabus, but a support network. I really like that idea. That's something I might add to mine. The last thing I'm going to show you is a specific science one, which is supposed to be integrated physics and chem. Okay, looks a little elementary design-wise for me, but this goes very technical. It's funny because they're designing it for like elementary, but speaks kind of to like first year college maybe. This is contract hours, prereqs, who's the lecturer, and so on. Course description's nice, focuses on verbs, understand the differences, apply formulas, think like a scientist. A little too wordy. I'm very loquacious. I've already talked for 10 minutes about syllabi I don't want you to adopt. But when it comes to speaking to the students, less is more. Less is more. Learning outcomes. Totally overwhelming for kids starting their first day. A page like this is maybe going to say, well, first of all, it doesn't make them dig at all for what am I going to learn? It's not inquiry based because I'm telling you all the things. And the risk we run when we tell them all the things in science is maybe they swallow hard. And maybe they're like, get me out of this class now. And we don't want that. That's exactly the opposite of what we want to communicate. Again, here we have like a grading policy, big assignments that they'll need to do, a course map, 2 pages for basically a pacing guide. It's a very kind of college level. Here we're talking secondary science, middle and high school, maybe a little inappropriate. I don't think they need to know that much. 3 pages at the end for policy. Policy, kind of like our first example where the last 2 word-filled pages were policy. Rules. Okay, now I'm going to go back to this design. This one with the pink banner at the top, because that's the one I modeled mine after when I redid mine and made it much more inquiry-based. First thing that we love about it, in fact, yes, we have a course overview. Yes, we have rules, what to expect in terms of what they're going to do, and then the rules around that. But expectations are not buried. They're front and center, top of the page, because that's what the kiddos need to know. That's what they need to know to do the class effectively. What to bring, I changed. We'll see how in a minute. Page 2 goes on to policy. Again, it's a blurb. It's very blocky style. What are we going to learn? Great to include, but snippets, bite size. They're going to look through and be like, oh, history, I'm into that. Poetry, boo, or whatever the case might be. Important stuff like contact info and important dates. I like this piece because it summarizes when you're going to get report cards, when we're going to have a break. We don't quite need all the details of an entire pacing guide or course map because in inquiry-based system, you don't really always know what next week is going to bring. You got a rough outline, you know what you want to fit in, but you're going to have to bend and flex your time a little every day. So let's take this template and show you what a more inquiry-leaning syllabus might look like. I'm going to go through them one by one, a little bit more detailed, and why I chose what I chose in this particular syllabus. So we're going to start with that course overview. First of all, love the templates in Canva because you can, make them your own. I try to, just in my own classroom, I kind of use this same active, loud, comic sort of vibe that I do in most of the Lab in Every Lesson materials. If you've downloaded any of them, you can go to labineverylesson.com/freebies if you haven't. We have a course overview here, right? So let me zoom in on that a little bit. Chemistry is not just a subject. We try to encompass all the things that they're going to learn there. But again, it's a small bit. Do they really care? I don't know. Chemistry is chemistry. So we emphasize some things here. Notice if we look through the details, it doesn't actually say we're going to learn about reactions. It doesn't say stoichiometry. It doesn't say atomic models. It doesn't say bonding. It doesn't say anything about the specific details like we had in some of those more detailed syllabi. Because do students really need to know? No. In an inquiry-based classroom, what students need to know is that they will explore the fundamental building blocks of matter through real-world applications, interactive models, and data analysis. Every unit's designed to spark curiosity and deepen understanding through student-centered inquiry-based learning. If you're choosing to go this way this year for your classroom, you want to be straight about it at the beginning. And students are going to read that, and it's the first thing that they encounter. First of all, they notice that it's short and sweet. Maybe they're interested in your class, so they go, let's see, what does chemistry really involve? Is it going to be all reactions? And then they're hit with real world, interactive models, data analysis. That doesn't sound like anything I've ever done in science before. Or maybe they have, right? Either way, it's clear. It's kind of a little bit of expectation mixed in with this is what the course is, what you're going to learn. But inquiry-based, really, our goal is not to teach the content. Our goal is to allow students to uncover the content. Those core ideas are not being communicated, not by us. We're not delivering them. They got to dig for them, and they have to know that right up front. Next way I've learned to read is left to right. So for me, I loved this layout because after we got, hey, this is inquiry-based, student-centered, I'm going to be using models and doing data analysis. Well, what do I need to be and do to accomplish that goal? I need to be curious, which is like, a number one about inquiry. You got to ask questions. You got to let that natural curiosity shine through, explore ideas, embrace mistakes as learning opportunities. How many syllabi have you seen that say that? And students read that and they know they're in a different place. Be respectful, of course, especially if you're in an environment where you're going to be doing a lot of small group work, which inquiry is fantastic, is perfectly complementary for. Engage kindly, standard, it's kind of a standard throw in there. Be prepared. And be prepared, notice a lot of our other syllabi that we looked at had a list of materials, all the things you should bring to class. Well, here we're saying preparedness comes from be ready to participate and contribute. So it's a different way of saying be engaged. You're going to have to explore real-world applications, models, and do data analysis. So you better be curious to go through those. You better be prepared to go through that process. Next, in my class in particular, because I work in cyber and our learning management system's a little wonky, this is just a teacher thing, I have to be explicit about how things are labeled in the class because there's always confusion. So this is less rules and very much more, this is how you read the course and this is how you can interpret and create your own calendar. Due dates indicate when you should complete work, and it's clearly stated assignments will not be accepted beyond the end dates, which is like, again, it's just an ism of the way I have to work in my system. Yours will look different. In the template for this syllabus, it said, I believe in this box was materials, things to bring or what to bring. And I changed this to your success strategy because at the end of page 1, students are going, okay, I'm don't know what I'm going to learn, but I know I'm going to be doing a lot of stuff. And I know I'm going to be active in the process of trying to figure it out and have to come to class, be prepared. And there are going to be assignments and there are going to be due dates that I can't miss. So how am I going to do this class? Because if this is very different for your students from anything they've ever seen, they're going to maybe start to freak out a little bit. True story. So our job here is to say, you can do it. Notice what's in this box. Your success strategy is not do your assignment on time. Do not use AI. I don't know. Do not use your cell phone during class. All the rules. I put all the rules in a little box, and they're graphical and they're bite-sized and they're all lifting them up, building their confidence, their self-esteem, letting them know that while this might be different from what they're used to, it's totally within their realm of ability. Be willing to wonder goes to being curious. Embrace trial and error, because in order to explore anything and embrace mistakes, you have to make mistakes. Looking for patterns is going to go to our data analysis piece. Share your thinking is collaboration and showing the expectation of being prepared to participate and contribute. It's trusting the process. Again, if students haven't done this, they're going to feel a little unsafe, is the common word I think we would use these days, PC in classroom. They're going to feel a little unsafe, and it's our job to sort of balance those scales. Trust the process. You're the leader of the classroom. You are the authority. You are the expert, and you're doing what's in their best interest. And then at the end, stay open. Don't shut your mind off to this. Trust the process. They kind of go together. On the second page, I'm laying out grading and what they should expect to see. Now, I could do a whole video on this that maybe I will do next year at back to school time. Certainly, if you're interested, drop a note in the comments below. Ask me more about it, and I will do my best to share some insight. But what I've done here is keep it simple, stupid. Not for you, not for the students, but just for everybody. Keeping it simple. They have 3 types of graded assignments in my classes. They have daily activities, and notice that, again, reiterating here, the inquiry, the action of it all. Science is practice, not just facts. Science is a verb, not nouns. Remember that came from our last video. For this reason, I live in Pennsylvania. We have new standards. These are actually called science and engineering practices, and that's what you have to do. So pointing out for them in former lab classes, it's a popular question in cyber because we're in cyber and they don't have materials to do lab. Well, how are we going to do lab, Mrs. Crosis? And the answer is labs are going to happen every day, because lab, science thinking, happens with science practices, and I'm going to bring you those experiences. Then I do something called weekly practice. As the practice portion, notice it says here, on tests and quizzes, you'll need to show your mastery of these core ideas, and practice makes progress. So we're not eliminating the fact that, yes, in science, we come away with scientists have taught us what they've learned, and that's important information. We need to know it, but it's just important for us to dig through and learn the thinking process that it took them, that we're going to use in our life to do it. So 2 components represented here, the doing, the inquiry, and then the core ideas. So if you're an NGSS teacher, daily activities represent the SCPs, weekly practice represents the DCIs, the disciplinary core ideas. And then in our assessments, we're able to hone in a little bit better on the CCCs, the cross-cutting concepts, because there's, our fact-based multiple choice tests, but also we have lots of claim, evidence, reasoning, style, open-ended. Actually, just subscribe to the channel, because I'll show you how or why or inquiry-based, like makeover for assessments. So we don't have to do so much multiple choice, and you don't have to be grading forever and ever. We definitely want to also be assessing those science and engineering practice skills, which include communication. Yeah. So notice it's not a whole page of rules. It's a whole page of what you're going to do that's constantly reinforcing the nature of the beast. Science is doing at the top. Yeah, science is stuff and you'll be tested on it, but most important, we want you to do it. And then the final page, and where we're going to segue into the next video, is standards. Ooh, sharing standards with students. If you're thinking that right now, I think it's totally fair. What do you mean you're sharing standards with students? This is where all that technical jargon comes into place. Fission, fusion, radioactive decay, outermost electron states. We're going to make a whole activity out of this. So this is not included so that students get that feeling of overwhelm. Rather, notice how I've bolded the beginning phrases because they are the SCPs: develop models, use models, construct explanations, plan and conduct investigations, and so on and so forth. Stay tuned in another video for that. We have talked extensively about inquiry. Now we're going to focus on the action of this and the technology piece. I'm just going to give you an example of something I was able to do with this syllabus on that first day. So students couldn't just connect my class and become aware of the things that were going on in my classroom, but so how it connected to that bigger picture, that bigger school-wide PBIS system. Because the other thing I'm really neurotic about them feeling after that first day is like, oh, she is asking too much of me. She is out of bounds. She's off her rocker. No, I want them to see that the whole school culture supports this kind of learning. We all have our favorite technology tools. I like Seesaw. Yes, it's marketed to elementary students, but it is so fabulous for all students, period. I just love it. So you see, I have set up an activity here in Seesaw. It says PBIS and their chemistry syllabus with some instructions. I want them to drag and drop the PBIS badges to the black boxes found in various areas of the syllabus. And they could use more than one badge per black box if you think it's well suited, which can result in discussion at the end of the activity. Now, this might be how you allow your students the time to go through the syllabus rather than say, welcome, let's do the syllabus. I'm going to read it to you. Story time, snooze fest. For real. Instead, you say, hey, everyone, here's your syllabus. Work through it. Think about, while you work through it and discover what you're going to encounter here in this class, how it connects to the other expectations we have for you across the whole school. And in our school, our PBIS is wellness, learner-centeredness, responsibility, and engagement. Now, what the students will do with this activity is as they read through it, because I'm not going to read through it with them, they will not just read through it and understand all the things that you and I have come to understand of what's in here, but also they will think in that extra dimension in a very actually cross-cutting concept kind of way. What is the relationship here between what's happening in chemistry and what's expected of me, like as a student at the school? If you're interested more in using this, I'll drop the link in the description below to my EdTech Essentials video, and it's actually a freebie that'll help you get started with your very first Seesaw activity. But here, just to model for you what students would do, you can see like maybe being respectful, being kind, and in discussions, maybe that's a wellness activity. Whereas being prepared sounds immediately like being responsible, but actually is more of an engagement task, because we need to be ready to participate and contribute. There's a little bit, maybe they have to be prepared. Maybe there is some sort of, homework that they had to do to become prepared. So usually responsibility is in there as well. That's why this type of activity is fantastic as a higher level DOK activity too. Anytime we're making connections and relationships, we're dealing in that higher DOK. There's not just one right answer. The success strategy being very learner centered. Also, I would argue and point out to the students, it's a wellness thing. All of this should say to them, don't fret. It will be fine. The action doesn't have to stop there. You don't have to limit your syllabus to just a scavenger hunt type of activity or the PBIS kind of connection piece that I included and showed you. you can actually really leverage this last piece of the example I've given you, the one that I really glossed over here at the end. All of those super specific science standards and the units of study, we can put them to really, really good use while also introducing science and engineering practices using all of the principles that we laid out on the syllabus day.